is Nick and Ricky, and this is the New Meta, episode 1. So yeah, we got Spiro Khouri here from the Gaming Stadium, VP of Marketing. Brand new company doing some exciting things in the Vancouver area. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and what you guys are doing.
Sure. So yeah, my name is Spiro. Thanks for the introduction, Nick. And I've personally been in the esports space myself for about 4 years now. Prior to that, a long history of working in traditional sports for a local baseball team, as well as at EA on the video game side. So prior to jumping into esports, I had the opportunity to kind of learn the traditional way that sports business is run, as well as the traditional way of the video game industry. And then, when I learned about esports, I was like, whoa, this is the perfect opportunity to take those two things, combine them, and look at a possible career opportunity. So, if you want to go, kind of further back, to talk about my journey a little bit. I always have been into marketing. It's always been something that's been a passion of mine, but more so is video games. And so when I was young, I remember being 5 years old and getting my first NES. And to me, it wasn't so much like the gameplay itself. The thing that, again, my dad tells this story to me all the time, is like, the thing that I was enthralled with was like, I pressed A on a controller and my character on the screen jumped. And like, I was just like, this technology is so cool. And at 5, I couldn't get over how cool it was. So luckily for me, my parents fostered that. And when new systems came out, I was given the ability to, get those, whether it was like a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis or a Nintendo 64. And then when I played Mario 64 for the first time, that's when I was just like, this is what I want to do for a living. Open world, it totally changed the way that, for me, games were played.
Mario 64 was a game changer in of itself. Like in the industry, when it came out, hype was unreal.
Yeah. And I was lucky to get one that Christmas. I'll never forget, it came from Costco, and it was in this plastic pack that had like the console, a red controller, the game, and it was just like laid out so beautifully. And then like, you don't even want to open it, right? And then you open it and you start playing and you're like, whoa. And I didn't put it down for weeks. And so that's where I really realized, like, I wanted to be in the industry. So fast forward a few years, my dad was always in the restaurant business, and he owned a bunch of restaurants growing up, and I always worked for him. And I had the opportunity in post-secondary to kind of say, like, you know what, I don't consider myself like a traditional thinker or learner, so what can I do? And I found the Art Institute of Vancouver. And when I went there, they had a video game development program that I really wanted to take. I ended up going into visual effects, which is, green screen stuff for the movies. But while I was there, I was able to take a couple of courses that really honed in on like the science behind making video games. And that's when I was like, okay, like, I know I could never code or dev, but like, I love marketing, I love playing games. Where could that lead me? And and then that kind of kickstarted me into making the transition to a traditional sports model, and then learning the gaming industry.
So basically, you graduated from there, and then you went to traditional sports from there.
I went to the Vancouver Canadians baseball team. I went to traditional sports, and the reason I did that is, first of all, they had internship opportunities. And again, growing up in a family where we owned restaurants, this was an opportunity for me to take my love of a bunch of different things and bring it to the forefront. But learning was the big thing. So, I wanted to break away from the restaurant business, and my dad, at that time, we just had the one restaurant left. At our peak, we owned 4, I think, at one time. And we just kind of said, my dad was getting a bit older, and I was kind of being groomed to take over, and it's not really what I wanted to do forever. So I got the opportunity to intern, and because of that, we ended up selling the restaurant, which was a blessing in disguise. And while I was doing traditional sports, I was still very heavily involved in gaming, especially in my free time. I would again, before Amazon and the internet is what it is now, like when the Xbox 360 or the PS3 came out, like you had to wait in line overnight at like a Walmart or a London Drugs to get it the next day. Or if you wait and it's on eBay the next day, it's like quadruple the price. It's like $2,000.
And they ran out every single time.
They had like 5 of them. Like, it was ridiculous.
that was part of the fun though.
It was like, I remember I had such fond memories, like chilling with your buddies and like,
line up at like 2 a.m. outside of EB with like 30 other people.
You've got a big thermal jacket on and you're eating a sandwich and drinking whatever. Like, it was fun. And so I always wanted the latest and greatest. I was never really a PC guy. I was a console dude. And then, I guess all that background kind of leads to, my transition from the professional sports into gaming. So I was lucky enough to be given an opportunity to go work in marketing at EA. And I worked on Need for Speed, which is a racing game. Not much in the way of esports at the time. We're talking 2011, 2012, so esports was still in its super infancy. Totally. But I got the opportunity to travel North and South America and essentially be a brand representative for this game and just share my passion of games with other people. Right. And it was at that time I realized, like, this is actually an industry that you could have a career in, because it's not easy to get in, but once you get in, it's like you get a taste of it, you never want to leave.
Well, and what's interesting about that is, like, traveling through South America, you probably saw that it was like this is universal. Yeah. Like, everybody plays games in some way, shape, or form, maybe differently between cultures. Yeah. But the fact that they play is ubiquitous.
Huge, yeah. And like online play was just starting to get to like a place where it was a bit more stable, and there were servers that you would be able to play people from all over the world. So the only big difference I found in those regions was like there was a lot of knockoffs, and the knockoffs didn't allow you to actually connect to online servers. So I would go to these places and people would say like, oh, why should I buy your game when I can get a ripoff for half the price? And it's like, yeah, well, you can get a ripoff for half the price and finish the story mode in 4 hours, or you can pay for the real thing and just play forever. Yeah. And play people online, and there's updates and all this stuff. So that was right when, like, I think like bootlegging of games was starting to fade away, but it was still prevalent. But it was starting to kind of fade. So EA, like, our game that we were working on didn't perform as well as we wanted it to, and so unfortunately they moved our department down to San Francisco, which at the time for me wasn't an option. So I kind of took a step back and was trying to figure out, what I could do to maybe take the next step in my gaming career. Along came an opportunity to work for a casino group in a marketing capacity, not the same kind of gaming, but gaming nonetheless. And I was there for a couple years, and in late 2015, early 2016, a very interesting opportunity came across my desk. So I had made it known internally that I was very interested in the video game space, and what I was doing was actually pushing our company to try to bring in video game themed slot machines to drive in a younger demographic of people, because there was a big gap in casino marketing. A lot of the marketing had been focused on the older generation that was coming in and playing the slots and paying the bills, but they missed a generation, and that's like people our age, right? So what ended up happening was, based on that, the company was like, okay, this guy obviously is really passionate about this kind of stuff, how can we kind of foster that? And an opportunity came up to host a one-day esports event. And the reason that came up is because in Arizona, at the University of Arizona, there's a horse racing program. And the gentleman who used to run it was working with an esports organization to see if there was a correlation between people who play esports and whether or not they could be converted into people who would potentially bet on horse racing. So they said, you guys have a racetrack at your facility, you guys have a race book, why don't we just do a one-day esports event? I kind of put my hand up and said, we had a poker room that had been renovated and was not being used. There was a storage facility. And I said, hey, how about instead of a one-day event, if we just built a lounge, an esports lounge that was open all the time? And they said, what do you need? I said, about $10,000 and a bunch of my own sweat equity. And they said, cool, let's take a look, let's make this happen. And we did. So in December of 2016, we opened the first esports lounge in a casino in Canada. And we had a massive event to kick it off, which was fantastic. And for the following year, that's what I did aside from my normal job. Is we held tournaments and events on weekends. We held viewing parties if there was any major events coming up. And that was my the culmination of this whole long story is I was able to take my traditional sports background, my video game passion background, my knowledge of the esports industry, and my knowledge of just the general marketing demographic that we were looking to, and meld them all into this one beautiful endeavor that did everything we were looking to do. It allowed me to harness my passion, but it also brought in the 19 to 35-year-old heavily male-skewed audience that the casino was lacking. And we noticed a 35% conversion rate of people who came to play esports tournaments going into the casino.
Wow.
And that's nearly double what we would normally see from any general hand-to-hand coupon handout.
So like it's like here's a band, or like here's like some sort of like act that's coming in, like it was a double conversion.
It was like, so let's say we went to an event, and at that event we handed out like, hey Nick, here's a $10 coupon, voucher, right? We would see typically like about 15, sometimes on the high end 20% of those actually redeemed. When we were in our space, partially because we're at the casino, but what we did is we actually educated, or we pushed through education. So what I mean by that is like we had a free-to-play blackjack table in the esports area. And we would run tournaments that were free, and based on how you performed, you earned bounce backs into the casino.
So you could go into the main casino.
$5 food and beverage offer, $10 free bet, whatever the case may be. And we saw a 35% conversion rate. And what that said to us was, not only are we bringing this demographic into our property, but they have a propensity to want to game. And if we can do what we can to educate them on what the casino has to offer, they're willing to take that step. The other thing it taught us, and I knew this kind of before, but brand loyalty in this space is extremely important. If you look at the early adopters, I'm talking like your Coca-Colas, for example, people who watch and consume esports, especially early on, realized in order for this thing to be a thing, I have to support these brands that are supporting it. Otherwise, they're just going to pull their dollars, right? So what we noticed was the people who came for gaming tournaments were coming back. They were coming on Friday nights and Saturday nights. And we would see them, and I would see them in the casino, and we would start talking, and it was like, yeah, well, the reason we come here is because like you support our community. So if we're going to go to any casino, why would we not go to the one that, and we were just like, to me, that was like a huge light bulb.
Even if it's like maybe further away,
it was,
we're coming here because you're providing the things that we believe in.
Absolutely. And they knew that in order for us to continue to be successful and to continue running these events, that contribution had to be done outside of just that one day thing. We had people booking Christmas parties like for their company. Like guys that play in our esports tournament, they're we have to go to this casino and do a buffet and watch the horse racing or whatever. So that was really like when I got the light bulb, and it was at that point when I realized there is so much opportunity locally in this space. Nobody has just kind of taken the reins and said, I'm going to do something about it. And so, I after I left, I left the casino. In December of 2017. So the esports lounge shut down after I left.
One thing, like I really do want to touch on though, because it's interesting that you say that, and we've seen this through like our own marketing efforts in the esports space, is that the brand loyalty of gamers is like unparalleled. Like it's, and people don't understand that. It's like, regular customers, it's like you can make, advocates and loyalists to your brand. But they can be somewhat swayed unless it's like very like key things, like people like love their Canadian or Budweiser or like Coke versus Pepsi. People are pretty passionate about those things, but in gaming it's like multiply that kind of brand loyalty, Coke versus Pepsi, times like 10. And that's not even an exaggeration. Like people are so locked in. It's like I own this type of mouse, I buy the same one for like 10 years. I've gone through 5 iterations of it, and like that's the norm.
Come to my house and check out my gaming area. It's like I'm very brand loyal as well because I get it, right? And it's really important to note, like for companies that are looking to, as part of my roles and responsibilities with the gaming stadium, which we'll get to I guess later, but like it's partnerships too, right? Like dealing with different sponsors and partners. And the thing that's the most important is like if you're looking to get into this space and you want that brand loyalty to be built, you have to get into it. You can't just say like, here's $100,000 and I want to throw my logo on something. It doesn't work.
Gamers are a bit more, I don't know what the right word to say is, but
need to be coddled.
Like coddled, but they're also kind of skeptical.
That's right.
Like they're skeptical of somebody that's like that. It's like, this is the first time I see you. Right. So it's like, are you trying to advertise to me because you're trying to advertise to me, or is it that you truly believe in our space? And if they believe, and like and we've seen this on things like Reddit. Right, like somebody posts on Reddit trying to sell something, it's like you get flamed.
Downvote.
Careful. So it's like but on the other side of that is like if you can win them over because you are providing something genuine to them, like they love you forever. And they'll follow you around, and they'll like take 20 extra steps out of their way to buy you or like consume you versus somebody else.
And here's this is the analogy I always bring up, and I think it's pretty good. everyone has a close circle of friends, right? And you know and you trust those people, and if one of those people asks you to do something or help them with something, you're willing to do it. When somebody new is introduced into that group of friends, there's a feeling out process. Now, if you start to see that person every Friday night when you go out, that loyalty and that trust gets built. But if you see them once, and then you don't see them again for 6 months, and then you don't see them again they're on the peripheral, and you tend not to want to trust or know or like them as much.
Right.
And that's what I kind of think. People who are in this space think of the brands that have been in there since the beginning as their circle of friends. And for new brands coming in, you can't just like throw a bunch of money, do a one-time hit and bounce. It's not how it works. You need to actually like be there and be a part of the community. And there are so many things that you can do to actually be a part of that. Like, it's not just, again, throwing money is not going to solve the problem. You really need to integrate. And you'll look at some amazing brands that some of them use influencers. Some of them go to events and actually have a presence, whether it be a booth. Some of them give prizing away. Some of them use their social accounts to promote something. So there's so many different ways that that you can skin the cat, so to speak. But
gamers are just extra cautious. It's like, because I mean, the branding, it's like seeing the friend every week. 100% agree. And I think it's like that for most brands. But what I think a lot of brands that are looking at this space aren't fully comprehending is if you did that in one way successfully, like in a different demographic, the amount that you need to pull in closer to gamers is way exaggerated. And that's why a lot of people are like, we're trying to penetrate the space and we can't, and we don't get it. What's happening? It's like, it's because these people are fundamentally different. They're just a lot more skeptical, but if you win over their loyalty because like you're actually genuine and you're actually like you're actually giving, it's not you can't approach it from a transaction mindset.
You're right.
And like the problem that we have with like larger companies is that they're a slave to like their quarterly earnings. It's like, well, we're spending this much and we need to get like our CAC is this and our lifetime value is only calculated on a 6 month or 1 year. Where it's like, okay, well, but if you penetrate the space, like your lifetime value for the next 5 or 10 could be like absolutely off the chart.
It's insane.
And they're going to forgive you when you make massive mistakes.
Absolutely. If you think about early adopters in the space, like for me, I think about Razer, right? Like I've seen them for like 5-10 years. They're on a ton of teams, and like I've got a Razer mouse, I've got like a Razer mouse pad, like the keyboard, and like they've been in that space forever, and it's really paid off.
And you look at what they're willing to do. I mean, there are some and I'm not going to name names, but there are some companies that you speak to and they're just all in, like they get it. And then there are other ones that focus on like, how am I going to make Steve buy my computer? Like that's or
it's just a different approach, right?
It's like, a totally different approach.
And I mean, and I think that, this is where, and I mean, and you've talked to, and I've talked to different brands that are trying to get into the space, and they're like, we've tried a bunch of things and it doesn't work. And it's like, like if you're approaching this, like you approach many different things, and even if you apply the nuances of those things to this space, it's not going to work for you. It's like, it's a brand new way of doing things. And there's like, it's a lot more nuance than other spaces.
The one thing I will say that's very important is having a plan, and then a plan as in like a campaign, not as a plan as in like I have this much money, like actually building out, and then B is like sticking to it, but also having that fluidity or that flexibility to say like, okay, maybe this thing isn't going as I planned, so I'm willing to change, but also like you do have to kind of stick to your guns. So like if you don't have anyone on your team, or if someone doesn't have anyone on their team that's an expert in the space, like the first step is talk to someone who's an expert in the space and get that knowledge first, because that's going to help as you build that campaign. But the reason campaigns are so important is, again, like, I've traveled to pretty much every major esports event all over North America. I've been to your EVOs and your DreamHacks and PAX and everything. And like, it's funny because sometimes you'll go and you'll see the same brands year after year after year, and you see them and it kind of like pings your brain like, oh, I've seen these guys before, and I see them on this person's stream and this guy's stream. And then there are some brands that pop up and you just see them for the first time and then you never see them again. Like, spending $50,000 to go to a DreamHack is, or I'm exaggerating the number, but like that's not going to be your answer. There's a campaign that needs to be built around that is going to have that long-term sustainability and that build that long-term brand awareness. And the good thing right now is like, I don't think people realize how affordable it is to get into esports as a brand. Right now.
Yes. It takes
next year or
time.
2 years.
Like it takes time in terms of amount of months. It is to get for people to believe you and get in. But right now it probably costs 1/10 of what it's going to cost probably even like 18 months down the road.
I can tell you events that are happening or have happened in 2018 compared to events that happened in late 2016, early 2017 have already gone up 3x.
Yeah. Right.
And that's in just over a year.
And we're in the linear part. We haven't even hit the hockey stick moment.
That's right.
Yeah. It's going to go 10x in 2 years.
But if you can get in early, and we're lucky enough that we are dealing with a lot of endemic partners that understand the space, that like also want to get in early, but also want to sign multi-year agreements because they know where things are going, right?
Yeah.
But right now, it's not that expensive comparative to traditional media sources to get in. Again, the big thing is understanding your audience, building a proper campaign, having experts that work with you, and then sticking to your guns budget-wise.
Yeah, so I mean, Spiro, tell us a bit more about the gaming stadium. What are you guys up to? What's your plan? How did it come together?
Yeah. So to give the history, about a year ago now, I was approached by a couple of folks locally that had this idea, and the idea was to build. It wasn't at the beginning like an esports facility for the sake of esports. Right. It actually was bred from a gentleman who has a couple kids that play games. And the online space can, in some situations, be fairly toxic. And so it was more of like, why don't you guys go play somewhere? Oh, we don't have anywhere to go play. So, we need to build a place where people can feel safe and comfortable and invited. And that kind of grew into, like, how can we actually make this into a space specifically for esports, but still foster that need for, a space where people can just go and hang out and have a good time. So about a year ago, the discussion started, and because of my experience launching the lounge at the casino, the esports lounge at the casino, and my understanding of the traditional sports side, especially on sponsorships and marketing, I was approached by a colleague who said, hey, like, when he was talking to them, it was like, you need to talk to Spiro, like, you need to get him involved, and so they did. And so I consulted for a little while, and after a few months of consulting, they said, things are starting to trend in the right direction here. Like, why don't you come and represent? Like, we're building a board. Why don't you come be on the board? Right. And luckily enough for me, I'm also a partner in the business. So that's all kind of worked itself out in a very favorable and fun way. Yeah. And we got to the point where after months and months and months of planning, we were like, okay, we feel like we've got a foundation here. We feel like we've got an idea. Now we need to take this idea out there and see if anyone's willing to back it.
Right.
And so, we did, and honestly, within a couple of weeks of us kind of pitching this idea, we found someone who stepped in and said, hey, we're willing to invest in you guys, and that got the ball rolling. So this was back in August, and in August 1st, we put out a press release announcing that we were going to be building this stadium, and from then until now, it's just been
so I mean, you guys pushed out basically like a press release come August 2018. What was the reaction from that? What were you expecting, and what was it that you guys got?
Yeah, so expectations were like, we put it out with the thought that we might get a few publications that would pick us up. Right. It was more just for us to be able to honestly point to when our website was built, because it was up at the same time, and say like, oh, we did announce that we're doing this. Like, it wasn't meant to be anything more than just putting it on the wire and kind of seeing what happens, right? So I was up late doing it, and I submitted it for like a 6 a.m. Pacific time launch because we wanted to hit 9 a.m. on the East Coast, right? And so early in the morning, the day that the press release hit, August 1st, it was really slow. Like, the Richmond News reached out to us, and a couple local publications.
Like smaller publications.
Yeah. And then around 11:30, Daily Hive, for those that are in Canada, specifically here in Vancouver, know Daily Hive, they picked up the story. Yeah. And once they picked up the story, because they're a massive outlet of just lifestyle and culture, that's when it just became a zoo. And we were like, it was global, it was CBC, Variety, and Engadget, two massive websites and publications based out of the States. It just went crazy. And so we were basically doing interviews almost for 24 hours straight. August 2nd, we actually flew down to Vegas because that's when EVO was happening. So we went down to EVO for a few days, and even then we were doing we did a Breakfast TV Skype interview. It was basically, it was like, it was insane.
Pushed launch, all of a sudden, slow, flurry.
It just out of nowhere. And then the next 3-4 days. But the beauty was, so we timed it on purpose. Right. We timed it right before Evo because we wanted the public to know we were doing this.
Yeah.
And then if we are at Evo and we're posting stuff to our social from that tournament, it's instant legitimacy, right?
Yeah. And for those that don't know, like Evo is like the biggest fighting tournament in North America.
That's right.
Period. Like there's no bigger one.
Every major,
like Las Vegas Convention Center,
massive.
Unbelievable.
You're talking
tens
like
of thousands
of people.
Yeah.
You're talking like every single superstar in that space competing at this tournament. Like
worldwide flying in. Yeah.
Twitch viewership in the 6 figures. Like it's the. If you're a fan of any fighting game, like you have to go to Evo.
Yes.
You have to. It's an amazing experience. So so we're there and we're posting photos from Evo, and this is a company that just announced 2 days ago.
Right.
It's like there's instant legitimacy there.
Yeah.
The beauty of that though was word in this space when you're doing something unique spreads very fast.
Yes.
And we were there walking around, talking to people, handing out business cards, making connections.
Yeah.
And those people had already heard of us before we'd even...
Like 24 hours later.
It was insane. Yeah.
It's such a small community, and people, I think, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But even though there's a lot of people, they're so well connected and communicated that whether it's for the better or for worse, everyone's going to find out what you're up to very quickly.
Everyone knows everyone.
Yes.
So like any call or meeting that I have, especially recently, it's like, oh, I was talking to so-and-so at so-and-so, and you're looking to work with them as well. Absolutely.
And if you make a good impression, like one good meeting is going to render you 10 good meetings.
Yep.
But same goes the other way.
It goes the other way, yeah. Like, to give a great example, recently, just last week, we had a call with Ubisoft, right? Major game developer, looking to do some big things in Canada in 2019, and we're looking to partner with them because we have a facility and the team to execute on certain events here on the West Coast where they don't have a studio.
Right.
And we started talking, and they asked us about production. And we said, yeah, this is the production company that we're going to be using. And he's like, no joke, I'm flying to Toronto in 2 days to meet with that company because we work with them as well.
Right.
And that's the industry.
Right.
The industry, and then once people start to talk to people, there's good and bad, of course. You have to represent yourself well. But the community is very small. And so it's kind of fun because if you represent yourself well and you integrate yourself into the community appropriately, the connections are much easier because of that legitimacy. So
very cool.
Yeah, so we put the press release out, to go back, and went to Evo and just craziness.
Yeah.
And we came back and said, like, okay, like we really need to get to work here. Like we need to put our heads down and focus on this full time and see what we can do to kind of take this thing to the next level. So over the next 6-8 weeks, we further defined our business model. We further defined a roadmap. We kind of tried to figure out. We tried to key on a few partners that we thought would be really crucial, especially at the start. Again, to provide that legitimacy that we were looking for, that we weren't just a bunch of schmucks building a building, right? So by having those partnerships, it was great. And again, luckily for us, our press release got enough pickup that we started to get incoming from major developers, major companies saying like, hey, how can we work with you? And that was really cool. So things started off on the right foot. So to fast forward to today, because the last few months have been basically like just boring business stuff, but it's basically like building partnerships and building the foundation. But we're set to open in April of 2019. So there's an existing facility, and we're going to be doing some renovations to that facility. And so right now we're deep, in the throes of interior design, of project management, while also shoring up our partnership agreements to ensure that day one we're starting to meet those expectations. So. We have a lot of stuff planned in terms of like PR and comms prior to launch, but essentially right now, we put on some little events here in the city, utilizing existing venue space, but we're all go for April. So
So I mean, I think what's interesting about your business model is that you guys are really trying to focus on that more amateur player and trying to create a community out of it. Because I mean, right now, I mean, and I think this speaks to a lot of parents as well. Like they watch their kids play video game in the basement, and a lot of people are like, it's not like it was before. You go outside and play, that kind of thing. But they're with their friends. Like I mean, they're 4v4ing or whatever it is, and at the other end of that headset, their friends there, right? But there's always been a missing element in terms of esports and gaming where it's great that you can play online, but like LAN isn't particularly like great when you set it up yourself, like in a person's house, right?
That's right, yeah.
And I mean, and you got to bring a TV over, and like, I mean, it's just, you know, or screens. It's like, it's a big production.
Yeah.
So I mean, really, what you guys are doing is like providing some sort of community for people.
Yeah.
Right, and like bringing those people together. You know, so like basically your business model. You know, it's about bringing people together more in person and to have those interactions, because I mean, with sports, like if you like sports, you can go watch the Canucks, you know, you can go catch like a football game in Seattle. You have a place to congregate with people that, you know, share your passion. With video games, that's not really real right now. So I mean, really what you guys are trying to do is build a community, you know, and also I think trying to provide people like a place where they can get better if this is what they want to do, or if they want to take things like to the next level and be a bit more serious about competing.
Yeah, totally. So it's interesting because first off, like there are a couple of these types of facilities already in the States. There's Esports Arena in Vegas. There's 2 of them in California. You know, there's one being built in a beautiful facility being built in Texas, and they're starting to pop up. We're the first in Canada. But in terms of how our business model is built, nobody in North America is doing it the way that we're doing it.
Right.
And we actually had a very interesting call yesterday with an extremely well-known company in the gaming space. And one of the questions they asked us, and they're the first person, hundreds of calls and emails, and they're the first one to ask. And they said, one thing we have noticed with some of the existing facilities is programming is a bit of an issue. What is your programming and how are you guys planning to combat that? And we said, great question, because this was a day one thing. So myself and Matt, he's our VP of operations. We're both nerds. We both love gaming. We've been in the esports space for quite a while now. So when we started to put this thought together, it was with the community in mind.
Right.
So we're actually, you know, we call them core tendencies. There's essentially 2 core business models that we're going to be running with. Number 1, we call casual competitive, and then 2 is training and development. So casual competitive is basically, we're going to be open 6 days a week.
Yeah.
It's hard to fill programming 6 days a week if you're just running like Mario Kart today and Smash Brothers tomorrow and Street Fighter the next day. It just doesn't work. So what we're actually doing is we're taking the traditional rec sports model and bringing that over to esports. So 4 out of the 6 days a week that will be open, we'll be running 12-week seasons.
Right.
And if you want to think of a comparative, it's a bowling league, rec hockey, rec softball. Every Tuesday, hypothetically, would be Overwatch. Every Wednesday would be League of Legends. Every Thursday would be CSGO, whatever. And so if you're in CSGO, you know, every Thursday at 7:30, I go to the stadium for 12 weeks and I compete against people who are of a similar skill level to me, and I'm playing for a cash prize at the end. So by creating these seasons, we focus in on popular games. The beauty of our facility is games can change at any time, so we have the flexibility to change. But we have those 12-week seasons, so people are coming back week after week. They're playing against people that are of a similar skill level to them, so they're not punching up or down in weight class. And then lastly, they're still competing for a cash prize, but it allows them to get out of the house and do this at a minimum of once a week. So that is something that nobody in North America is doing. And that's because we have the experience in the traditional sports and how it's been run, and we can combine that with esports. The other 2 days a week, your Friday, Saturday nights, are going to be focused on, you know, your monthlies, your bi-weeklies, some 19-plus events where we have it as more of maybe like a party atmosphere. But it just gives us the flexibility to do more stuff. So that's kind of like, you know, core tendency 1 is casual competitive. We want people, you know, I'm 35, I love gaming, I'm not as good as I once was, even though I was never that good, but I still love to compete. I still love to play online and test myself against other people. The beauty of online matches is, for the most part, you get matched against people similar skill level, right? It's just taking that experience and bringing it to a facility. A facility that is a full service facility. So you don't have to, like, we have all the equipment that you would need. We have a full production studio. We have a stage with a big screen. We're live streaming every single day. So when you and your buddies come, not only do you get to play in these tournaments, but you get the experience of feeling like you're a professional. I play a lot of hockey, rec hockey, and when I get the chance to play on Rogers Arena, I feel like a superstar. I'm playing in an NHL arena and I can see the 19,000 seats. It's a different level. And that's what we're looking to provide to people, but in the casual space. So that's number 1. Number 2 is training and development.
Yeah.
So we're currently working on building proprietary training and development curriculum.
Right.
And what that will focus on is not only helping people get better at the game, but also just the aspects around the industry. What that means is like how important fitness is, dietary, how important is mental health. Mental health is such a big component to this space. So it's taking all of those aspects and combining them with the training in the actual game itself to not only become a better gamer, but just to become a better person and a better member of the community. So the analogy I say is like when I remember when I was 5 and I was in kindergarten, I grew up in a city called Burnaby, and Burnaby Minor Hockey Association came to our school and gave out registration forms.
Right.
I went to my dad's restaurant that night and said, "Dad, I want to play hockey." It was $99. I'll never forget. "Dad, I want to play hockey." Okay. 2 days later, and this store doesn't exist anymore, but my mom takes me to Woodward's, and we're shopping for my hockey gear, and I felt amazing, right?
Yeah.
If a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old right now goes to their parents and says, "I want to try to do this for a living," there isn't really any way for parents to really cultivate that, right? And say, "I want to foster this development." How? You go on Craigslist and search for a Fortnite teacher and hope that you get a good dude. Like, I mean, it's totally.
But you don't know who you're getting and what quality they're.
And it's online, and it's like. And I'm someone who takes games like fairly seriously, and I personally, in the last couple of years, have had coaches. Like, I will play games, and I will find people who stream, or I'll find people, and I have myself paid for people online to teach me how to get better at games. There are some online courses that you can take as well, but nothing that provides like that safe, warm, comforting, community-driven environment. So that's what we're going to be. That's the second part. The second part, and this will come probably like 6 months after we launch, once we get like the casual competitive stuff kind of locked in, that's when we'll be able to say, okay, like now we have this curriculum where people of any age can come in and actually not only get better at the game, but get better at all the other aspects. The important part is when you're putting this stuff together, you need to trust. So I coached hockey for quite a few years. And when parents register their kids in any sport, they're trusting the coach is a good person, but also trusting they know what they're doing. Because you're handling their child's development socially and physically, right? So for us, it's important to make sure we have the right people. And so we're partnering with people, that worked on strength and conditioning with the Canadian Olympic Committee. We're focusing with people who are former professional players, former professional team coaches and managers, people that live in this country, maybe not all in Vancouver, but across the country, that like see the need for this and are willing to give their knowledge. So the important thing is like, it's not just a curriculum, but it's a curriculum backed by resumes of people who have the experience in this space. And those two things are what sets us apart. Because nobody else is doing that right now.
You're doing the background checks to make sure that these people are legitimate, that they're safe, because I mean, it's people's children to your point, right? So I mean, like safety is paramount. So that's number one.
And we have security at our building. Every minute we're open, there's security there. So, we want to break down the negative stigma of like gaming being seedy or gaming being dark and underground or being a basement thing. Like that's not true at all. And there are a lot of people who still believe that that's the case. We're looking to break those walls down. Part and parcel with that is something that's on our roadmap but won't be there like right when we open is we're actually looking to provide free seminars on games specifically. So anyone, whether you're a parent, a child, someone in between, whatever, it doesn't matter. You want to learn about a game, you can come in, take a 60-minute free seminar that gives you the basics to understand the games that you're playing. Because again, we want to break down that negativity about like, this game is violent or this game is this. Like, well, it's not always the case. By being able to showcase, how the community can interact together in an environment that is like all-encompassing, it's a really cool differentiator. And I told that same long-winded story to the company that we were speaking to. And again, this is like, when you think computers, this is a top 3 company, right? That we're speaking to. And they were just like absolutely blown away by how much thought we'd given to this. Because if you look at programming at existing venues, it's Wednesday is fighting and Friday is shooting games and Saturday is this. And it just same old repetition, same old blah, blah, blah. So we're looking to kind of twist
that. Well, it's just like it doesn't engage, the clientele. So I mean, I think that to transition a bit, it's like, why do you think esports have become so popular in such a short time? I mean, people are kind of looking at this phenomenon. They're saying like, oh man, it's getting so popular, but is it really becoming that popular, or is it that there's now an outlet?
Yeah, I think the outlet is really important. I mean, like I talked about earlier, lining up for those consoles.
Yeah.
Those lineups were hundreds of people deep.
Yeah.
People at the back knew they weren't getting one, but they still stayed just in case, right? It just, there was no outlet for people to be able to share that passion and community. So there's a couple of things. Number one, YouTube and Twitch need a ton of credit because they've given the platform for people to share that passion and for people to consume that passion. So that to me, number one, is big. But the second thing is just like, there's this perfect timing of like how digital has taken over and less homes have cable now.
Yeah.
So when you don't have cable, you're consuming your product via digital. And that could be Netflix, that could be like online television programs, that can be, again, YouTube, Twitch. Yeah. So it's forcing people, especially at a younger age, to consume their information digitally. Yeah. The beauty of YouTube and Twitch, they cost $0.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Now, there obviously are things that you can do to pay to get, if you wanted to have Twitch Prime or whatever, it costs you X amount per month, whatever. But like, they're free.
Yeah.
And when you have something that's free, that isn't X-rated, it's very appealing to people, parents and kids alike. So I think that like, the digital age has kind of come in at the same time that Twitch really rose and YouTube really rose. And you've had a couple key influencers, like you go back to PewDiePie, who's like the number 77 million subscribers on YouTube. Yeah. Like you go back to his beginnings, video games. Yeah. Right? And then 100%. It grew from there. So like when you look at these top influencers, a lot of them started by showcasing gaming and then getting. The other thing is the developers have really jumped on board.
Right.
So, you start with companies like Sony and Xbox, Sony and Microsoft, sorry. They have one-touch streaming capabilities now. So you can literally be playing on your PlayStation and hit a button and stream it to the world via Twitch, right? It's super easy. So that's a huge factor. And then the other thing that comes into play, the developers, is like they are now building games or developing not developing further. They're building games, but they're also like adding to their existing games to make them more esports friendly, to focus on the competitive side.
So it's not really like, it's becoming popular. It always has been there, but there wasn't access. By the creators. Like the creators didn't, it was very complicated to get your content out there compared to how it is now.
You couldn't get your content out there. If you want to go way back, like to Ustream and Justin.tv, like the outlets were there, but the issue back then was internet was so bad.
Yeah.
It was laggy, you couldn't get your download speeds, your fiber optic. So like you try to go watch something and it was just like, it was brutal, right? So why would you want to create content for a platform where people can't consume it properly? Yeah. And so what ended up happening was once YouTube and Twitch YouTube was always kind of there, but exploded, and then Twitch came in and had this platform that could sustain, and at the same time the internet became good enough. Now it's just like, okay, this is easy. Because the other thing we all understand is when you stream or watch things on like a mobile device that isn't connected to Wi-Fi, it chews data, right? So data plans are better and cheaper now. Easier to consume. There's Wi-Fi everywhere. Easier to consume.
Well, and it's interesting because YouTube has always been there, and people have been popular on it. But before, I know YouTube now has live capabilities, but back then people were pre-recording and then uploading, and then the quality was okay in that paradigm. But to do it live, really, like that's maybe the past 18 months. Right? Like in terms of like computer quality, because like these gamers are that are broadcasting on Twitch, for example, like they're building rigs that like these are not off the shelf solutions. They're building their computer so that it has enough power so that it can actually like produce a high quality stream live.
You're talking $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 easily for those computers.
So on that note, like why do you think people are watching video games on Twitch versus on YouTube before? Before it was more like game guides. Now people are actually watching streamers live, and sometimes the game's actually secondary to the personality. Like what's that inflection point? Like why are people watching that over say television?
So the beauty of any game is things can happen at any second that are unpredictable. right? Whether you're dealing with like Red Dead Redemption, where it's an open world game and you come across different things, or you're dealing with a Fortnite or a Battlegrounds or a Call of Duty, where every time someone jumps into a game, it's different. So part of it is FOMO. Part of it is like, I just don't want to miss out on what could happen by watching this person.
Right.
Because it's going to be clipped, it's going to become a meme, and I don't want to miss that.
Yeah.
So part of that is just like consuming that data. The other thing is like for traditional sports fans, like I'm a traditional sports fan. I love Sundays because I can watch live NFL football all day.
Yeah.
If they had live NFL football 24/7, I would probably consume it 24/7.
It's true.
Twitch gives you that opportunity with gaming. You can consume live gameplay 24/7.
Yeah.
So to me, I think that's why it's like becoming, the personalities are a massive part of it.
Yeah.
I think there are two really core, like, there's people who are like really good personalities, and whether or not they're good at the game doesn't really matter. And then there are people whose personalities like aren't cut out for it.
Right.
But they're just top level.
But then there's both.
And
this is where you get Ninja. This is where you get like a Nick Merckx on Fortnite.
Those
this is where you get like
top 5%.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, those. It's like you go on Twitch and it's like top 3 streams every time. But they're always both.
Yeah. So here's the other thing people don't really talk about with Twitch, and I think it's very important to understand why the rise of content creators has been so high. The ability to monetize.
Right.
And so in the past, there wasn't really the ability for content creators to monetize to the point where they could make a living. And on YouTube now, that capability exists.
Right.
And especially on Twitch now with donations and subs and cheers and sponsorship integration. Right. So you've got people like Ninja, and Ninja's like the top 0.1%, whatever. But like, they have the ability to make a living by making that content. And when you've got thousands of people who are doing it for a living, the content is there to consume all the time. If that wasn't available, people wouldn't do it.
But I think it's important to note, like, I mean, like Ninja's like probably the highest earner in terms of like Twitch, ongoing Twitch streamers. But you know what most I think people don't know is that there's a lot of people that are on Twitch, like that are streaming, that are between number 5 and 10.
Sure.
That like they're making more money than a regular day job.
Yeah.
And by, you know, leaps and bounds, and some of these guys can be found 10th on stream.
Yep.
Like for a specific game.
I was watching a guy today. He had about 400 viewers, which is not massive, not small, but not massive.
But if you do the math on like the donations, if you do the math on the subscriptions,
he was talking about it. He was talking about it.
Yeah.
And he was saying like, you know, I just hit 1,000 subs.
Right.
And 1,000 subs is $2,500 a month minimum. US, right?
Yes.
Minimum, just from donations, or just from subs. We're not talking donations. We're not talking cheers.
YouTube views on the upload.
We're not talking sponsorship integration because he had sponsors on the stream as well.
Yeah.
So he's making around $30,000 a year just from subscribers.
Yeah.
And that's probably less than half his revenue.
Way
less than half.
Yeah. But even then, depending on where you live, some people work full time at minimum wage and don't make that much money.
Absolutely.
Right? So the ability to monetize for anyone is there. And the beauty of Twitch is that initially Twitch was catered to the top 5%.
Yes.
Right? Only our partners could get XYZ.
Yeah.
But they've broadened that scope now.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, you can become an affiliate fairly easily, which means you can get subscriptions and whatnot. You might not be getting the same piece of the pie, and you're not getting access to the same things that partners are getting access to, but you still have the ability to monetize.
Right.
The last stat I read, and it could be wrong, but the last stat I read on Twitch is there are currently 2 million active streamers on Twitch. 2 million, right? I don't know if that was calculated.
I mean, maybe it's like once a month, or whatever it is.
But still, there are 2 million people, according to their algorithms, that are actively streaming. Like, that is insane. But when you think about it, and you go into games like Overwatch or League, and you scroll down, there's a lot of people with 0, 1 viewers, 5 viewers, 10 viewers.
Yeah.
Like, those people are doing it for the passion and the hope that one day they get to that point. But like, 2 million people are using that platform to share their content. And that is a beautiful thing. YouTube has changed, unfortunately, because of, you know, Adpocalypse and a bunch of other stuff, where content is now, in order to make really good money on YouTube, you have to cater your content to be a specific thing. But on Twitch, they actually do the opposite. So like, Twitch started with video games, right? They've added a poker section and a casino gaming section. They've added a social eating section. They've added a just chatting section. They've added an IRL section. So like you can like
talk shows, whatever it is. Yeah,
I've seen some amazing musicians. On Twitch, I've seen some people who are just like super funny and fun that they just literally sit in front of their camera and have conversations with their viewers. It gives people an artistic outlet in whatever capacity. So video games is one aspect of that. But the interesting part is the platform is opening itself up to anyone that wants to create content of any kind, and that's creating like the bigger mass.
So yeah, I mean, I think that like, you know, what I think that is the opportunity here, I mean, from like a more of a marketing perspective for brands is, you know, influencers in Twitch that are playing video games, you can't shotgun it, right? Like you have to pick who these people are that you want representing your brand. But I think that they're very underused because these people are, you know, it's crazy. Like the more popular people and even people that are, you know, top 10, 20 at any given time, these people are a mix of charismatic character, good at the game, or funny. And they're also like semi-psychologists. Like, I mean, people are there divulging their problems. So like there's a high degree of trust there.
Yeah.
And, you know, you never want to like peddle products, right? But if you have a more like altruistic giving nature, engaging these people as your influencers for something that can actually help people, like, is valid. And right now we just see that as like very underused.
Very. I think the brands that get it. And the perfect example, I love watching Dr. Disrespect. He's a character. Yeah. I'm a wrestling fan. He reminds me of a wrestling character. Right. He's very like, you know, bombastic, and he's fantastic. He has some sponsors.
Yeah.
G Fuel being one, Gillette being another one.
Yeah.
The beauty of what they do is they understand his audience, and his audience is there because of his like machismo, right? Yeah. So G Fuel creates like a shaker mug that echoes his personality.
Right.
Everybody wants to buy it. Gillette creates a line of razors that because he's got this bushy mustache. Right. Everybody wants to buy it. So like the brands that integrate appropriately, like the people eat it up. The ones that don't work is like, hey, I'm XYZ streamer, buy my merch. Like it's like whatever, man. Like
people see through it.
Yeah. So like there has to be that understanding of who their audience is. But then like G Fuel and Gillette, they get Dr. Disrespect and they get his audience. So they cater the product to the audience of him.
You can't just jam ads through.
Nope.
Like you need somebody that understands the space, understands the streamers.
Yeah.
So it's like, and this is where people, like a lot of brands are just going direct. They're like, well, just shotgun the top 20 guys in this game.
Put my logo on all.
Doesn't work.
No.
Like you have to like really get to understand who it is you're looking at.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, we're kind of running out of time here, so like we have to end off with like a couple questions here. Favorite game to play solo?
Favorite game to play solo? So I have two. By myself. Is Slay the Spire.
Yeah.
Ricky knows this game. Yeah.
I introduced Ricky to it.
Okay. I play that game all the time.
Good.
All the time. If I want to compete against people but play by myself, it's PUBG.
Yeah.
I love that experience.
Love throwing grenades and them not exploding.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic.
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome.
So those are my games. Yeah.
Awesome. Favorite game to play as a group?
Overwatch.
Okay.
I love Overwatch. I love strategic thinking.
Yeah.
And that game, I grew up a hockey fan.
Yeah.
And people are like, what's Overwatch? I'm like, in hockey, you have 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie. Everyone has their roles. And Overwatch is the same.
Yeah.
It's 6v6, and everyone has their role to play.
Yeah.
How you play that role and work as a team is so crucial to the outcome.
Yeah.
So I love that game. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Favorite game to watch?
PUBG is my favorite game to watch, but right now it's actually Call of Duty.
Okay.
Their Battle Royale mode is, I mean, I've always been a Call of Duty fan.
Yeah.
And their Battle Royale mode is amazing. I love watching games where the outcome is going to be different every single time.
Right.
And so the beauty of Battle Royale is like, A, you can jump right in, right, to another game. But B, like, you're playing the same physical game every time.
Yeah.
But based on RNG or, based on randomness, the actual gameplay changes every single time.
Yeah.
So even the best of the best cannot consistently win because things that are out of their control happen. So
Yeah.
Call of Duty Battle Royale is like, right now it's like all I watch.
It's the unexpectedness.
Yeah. And then on a non-gaming side, I actually, like, for people who don't watch, like, poker on Twitch is amazing.
Interesting. Never watched it there.
If people like watching poker, like, on TV, like, watch some of these streamers. It is so much fun to watch poker on Twitch. There's a guy named Kevin Martin who actually won the last season of Big Brother Canada. It was his second time on Big Brother, and like he's a streamer on Twitch, and so much fun to watch. Yeah.
So half personality, half like quality.
Yeah, talking through their decision making. Again, celebrating wins because there are some tournaments they're playing in for thousands and thousands of dollars. But like getting to see their hole cards and how it kind of plays out, it's a really fun experience. And then being able to communicate with that person. Why did you play Ace King this way in this situation? And having the streamer actually tell you why. Very cool.
Yeah. And I think people like tune in just because, I mean, they like to learn.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It's a great way to learn. Yeah.
How do you think that the marketing of esports is going to be different from traditional sports? Like, and at what level? Because, I mean, professional versus semi-amateur, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. So, to be completely honest...
I mean, it's kind of too early to tell.
It is way too early to tell.
If you had to look into your crystal ball.
Yeah, if I had to look into my crystal ball, I have one major concern, and that concern is once a bunch of really big brands start to get their hands on it, it ends up falling into the traditional sports way of branding, and I hope that doesn't happen because...
But for the record, I think that if they try that right now, overnight, it's going to fall flat on its face.
Yeah.
Like if people and this is the thing, it's like there's a lot of people out there buying Overwatch League teams, and it's like if they market that, like, and a lot of these people like own major sports, like whether it's NHL, NFL, like same owners are buying these teams. If they market that the same way that they market like their NFL team or NHL team, it's not going to work.
No, it's not
at all.
No, it won't.
Not right now, at least.
Not right now. And I think the other thing that has to happen is esports has to become more mainstream. So ESPN has to be showing esports every Friday, or TSN or Sportsnet. Like when it's like traditional sports on TV, then the bigger brands will start, because they have ins with the broadcasters, right?
But it has to grow to that point,
and
it's not there.
Who knows like when that's going to happen? That's like my big concern. But in terms of like I think for brands that are looking to get into the space, again, the biggest thing is like with any like. I've been in marketing my whole life, more on the traditional side. I don't fully understand the digital space. Like, I go to digital experts like you guys to help get that message out there. Because, like, if I go in and start trying to do digital ads and campaigns, like, I just don't have... It's the same. If you don't understand the space, get someone who understands the space and have that conversation first. That's, like, the most important thing.
And what we've seen is that, like, the targeting on these things, it's like, once you figure it out, it's highly repeatable. And people want to see certain things, and like the demographics and psychographics of this group are very specific. But it's not one. It's not one group. It's actually like it's like 20 different groups that are sort of clustered together. Sort of. But if you have one general message for like those 20 groups, it won't work.
So I was listening to a radio interview with Rick Fox, former NBA player, one of the first major celebrities to get into esports. And he put it in a way that is so perfect. And what he said was, when you have the Olympics, Olympics is the banner. Underneath Olympics is ice hockey, ice dancing, ski jumping,
and like 20 other things.
Whatever, bobsledding. Just because you're good at one doesn't mean you're good at the other, even though it falls under the banner of Olympics.
Totally.
Esports is exactly the same. Esports is the banner. You got League of Legends, Call of Duty, Fortnite. All of these games are so different, and the people that play them are so different.
What they value.
That's right. So like, you can't just say, I want to get into esports. It's not that easy.
No.
There's sub-layers to understanding the demographic of each community, and so that's why you need someone who's an expert and understands.
And even within each community, level of competitiveness. So like somebody that's like a A1 player versus like a B about to become an A player.
That's right.
Like, they value fundamentally different things. And they look at the game in totally different ways. While there's like, these more casual players, like they value totally different things. And if you advertise to them the same way that you went to that like A, B tier player, it's like they care about different things. But what's interesting about that is that like you got to sell to all of them. And you got to like speak to all of them. Otherwise, it won't work.
And that's why we feel like we're filling a gap for potential partners and advertisers. Is like, we're going to be running the gamut of games, and we're going to have that demographic information. So for people who are looking to target certain things, like, we have that all encompassing. Whereas if you're looking to focus on a game specifically, there's a lot of deep diving you have to do. But again, like, for those looking to get involved, don't just say like, I want to get into esports, because it's not that simple, there's a banner. And there's a bunch of stuff that falls under that banner that really makes you think about how you're if you try to target a League of Legends, like if you're creating an ad for an event and you've got CSGO and League and Fortnite at this event, like you need to create 3 very separate target audiences.
With different messaging for the exact same thing.
Totally different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think that different types of games will be more popular by country and or continent?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it comes down to some countries like China just don't allow for certain games for violence or whatever other reason. The way the girls dress in the game.
But even like culturally, say, right? Because I mean, like North America is different from South America, from Europe.
Yeah.
Different countries, just like it's just kind of like how we see soccer's more popular in Europe versus like the sports that are more popular in North America.
Totally.
Will that divide happen? And if you had to guess, what do you think like the North American version would be versus like the European or like more like maybe like Asia
yeah,
Pacific?
So it's kind of happening now in terms of like League of Legends and Dota definitely are more on the Asian, Korea, China. They kind of dominate those games.
StarCraft, I guess.
StarCraft. Counter-Strike is like very European.
Yeah.
Poland, Germany, like in those areas, Counter-Strike is very popular. Battle Royale, I'm finding is a little more North American with some influence, and a lot of the reason is like the servers in other places of the world aren't as good as the ones in North America. So I think like if you look at the top tier games like in North America right now, I mean Fortnite is like huge, and then Overwatch, and the reason Overwatch is so big is because the developer is in California, right? So, the ability for them to do stuff at their facility is a lot bigger. I think the biggest issue when it comes to playing competitively wherever you are is like access to equipment, but again, internet. So some games do require a faster, more stable connection to play at a super high level, and some places of the world just don't have that quite yet. So the reason I think Counter-Strike is so popular in certain parts of Europe is because the bandwidth needed to play that game is much different than to play some other games. So, not only is it popular, but it's also easy and less barrier to entry. As far as like crystal ball and telling the future, it's hard. So Overwatch, you could argue is the first game that was built specifically for esports. The other games that came before it were games, and esports came in and they fit pretty well. Overwatch was built for esports. I think we're going to see more titles like that in the near future. But the tough part is predicting kind of like what will and what won't work. The community is going to have to, adopt and make that decision. But yeah, as far as like what's going to be popular in North America, I think for the next few years, I think Overwatch is where I would that's the one I would put at the top of the list. And then the other games would follow. I mean,
like Dota, obviously.
Yeah, Dota, League of Legends. I mean, we have a fundamental development issue in Canada, and we're just not developing the talent that some of these other countries are. We have a few top-level, extremely good players. Canada, the Overwatch Worlds 2 years ago, lost in the finals. This past year, they made it to the semifinals. So they have a good team. But
the development behind it is like self-propelled by and large.
Exactly. And so like part of what we're trying to do is to develop that next phase while staying on top of gaming trends. So it's a bit of a difficult task, but we feel like it's less about which games are going to be performing and more about which people we're going to be able to bring to the next level. Again, games come and go, so it's hard to kind of cross that bridge sometimes. But we feel like Canada is lacking a bit in that next generation of like really, really good esports players. And as a proud Canadian, as we all are, we really want to do what we can to help get those guys to the next level. So,
Totally.
Yeah.